Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Tuesday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, Neville Andre, Governor of the Irongo region, in collaboration with the Irongo Regional Council, conducted the first of 7 town hall meeting sessions in Swakopmund today. This is with the main purpose of giving feedback to the community on government, regional and local government activities and listening to communities on how they can improve service delivery in the Irongo region. We're not here to blame each other, but to find solutions to the problems we are facing in our respective communities and towns, said Andre. The governor will be visiting all the towns in the Irongo region during the months of May 2023 and June 2023. Let's take a look.
2020, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have not had any town hall meetings, and we are very happy that we are back to this engagement where we engage with the community and hear from the community. We are gathered here this afternoon with the sole purpose, that is to extend our democratic practices and accountability on service delivery in Swakopmund. Of course, as you all know, effective governance is a critical component for social economy, development and social cohesion. We need to engage one another, to hear from one another, to sit, so that we all know that what the journey or the focus that the leaders are taking, it is also followed by the communities, and not the leadership moving in one direction and they are leaving the communities on the other. I really appreciate your coming here, making time to come and engage and talk to your leaders. Be rest assured that we are not only going to speak English, we also arrange translations afterwards. But if you want to express yourself in your language, please do so. Don't be afraid of talking. Whatever issue you have, whatever issue you want to bring to your leaders, you can express that in your language. I also want, because this is a community meeting from government, to speak and hear to the community members. I want to ask those that are heads of different government offices in Swakopmund just to stand up. I see youth is here, health is here, please stand up. We'll be going to all the different constituencies in the Irongo region. And we are lucky, or you are lucky, to be the first to start, because perhaps you are the host of the government in the region, and you get to benefit to be the first to address it. But also, with this engagement, in order to also strengthen the relationship and engagement between our offices and that of the community, we will be having a suggestion box from my office at all offices of government. So even after this engagement, you can still engage us through suggestion box, where at every month I will be looking at and reading the questions that are coming from yourself, and then have to respond to those issues.
In efforts to contribute to the fight against mental health-related illnesses amongst the youth, the Swakopmund Junior Town Council will host a mental health awareness seminar. The purpose of the seminar was to raise awareness of the detrimental impact of mental health amongst youth, to educate the youth on where they could seek help, and to make them aware of symptomatic behavior which could indicate a mental health condition. The JTC has made it an ongoing effort to reduce the stigmas around mental health, said Junior Councillor Esther Shigweda. Let's take a look.
My name is Esther Shigweda, and I'm serving as the current treasurer for the Junior Town Council. Our society often overlooks mental health problems because they do not see an individual suffering from them physically on their person, and often are unaware that mental health is a state of well-being. At the end of the day, this leads to misconceptions about mental health and mental health fitness. When untreated, individuals suffering from mental health are more prone to suffer from severe emotional, behavior, and physical health problems. With that being said, the Junior Town Council has made it an ongoing effort to reduce the stigma around mental illness and mental-related health conditions by sharing our personal experiences. We'll establish this by identifying the problem, breaking down the barriers, and mobilizing lines of communication. It is important for caregivers, friends, and loved ones to understand the impact that mental health has on our individuality. This creates a support system and encourages those suffering from mental health illnesses to seek help, learn to cope, and get on their road to recovery. In addition, the Junior Town Council strives to impact not only our youth, but the community at large by making it a notion of working towards our mental peace rather than settling for society's easier to accept norms. Thank you.
Agriculture Minister Karl Schlettwein said that Meatco is currently technically insolvent, with its debts surpassing its assets. He made these remarks at the Ministerial Strategic Annual Planning Commission workshop held in Swakopmund this week. Schlettwein indicated that the company has therefore been identified as one of the ministry's priority areas that needs intervention. He said that it is important for the ministry to support the reform and sustainability of Meatco as an anchor for market access and price stabilizer for all livestock producers, small and large, in both communal and commercial areas. We are working closely with the Treasury and stakeholders for a sustainable future for Meatco and its value creation proposition of the livestock sector. Schlettwein added that Meatco had the advantage of being a de facto monopoly, but that the situation has changed since the market forces made the opening of privately owned abattoirs and beef marketing entities possible. He said that Beefco, a privately owned entity, has already surpassed Meatco in cattle slaughtered. Savannah beef meat has also been registered, which will further increase competition, said Schlettwein. The result is a sharp decline in market share, which in turn brought about serious loss-making. Finance and Public Enterprise Minister just recently tweeted that the story about Meatco being privatized/liquidated is fake. It is true that Meatco needs restructuring for it to become sustainable, and we are working on a sustainable plan. Earlier this year, Schlettwein, during his annual staff and stakeholder address, said that Meatco is still in the intensive care unit and a decision must be taken on whether to terminate life support or breathe new life into its structures. In the commercial sector, what we see is that Meatco, as the biggest abattoir, has to a certain extent failed the farmers, and they have now taken it into their own hands and are developing their abattoirs. Closing off our top story is the tragic death of Joanna Keramin-Bierkes, allegedly at the hands of her police officer husband, has shed light on a marriage plagued by domestic violence and a trail of police reports. The late Keramin-Bierkes was fatally shot in an apparent murder-suicide while she was attending choir practice at the AGS Church in Marienthal, according to the police. Her husband, Chief Inspector Michael Bierkes, killed her in the presence of their 2-year-old toddler last week, Thursday afternoon, before shooting himself in the head in front of his house with a pistol, which was recorded stolen in June last year. The tragic incident has brought light to the Bierkes' tumultuous marriage, as police records show a trail of domestic violence cases opened against the late Chief Inspector Michael Bierkes leading up to the victim's demise. The first incident was recorded on the 22nd of September last year, where the victim accused her late husband of domestic violence, and he was arrested, charged and detained in Marienthal. On 23 September, the suspect appeared before the Marienthal Magistrate Court, where he remained in custody, and the case was postponed to 7 November for a legal representative. The late suspect applied for bail, and as per bail application on the 5th of October, he appeared before court, where he was granted conditional bail of 1,500 Namibian dollars. A week later, on the 12th of October, the late victim withdrew the protection order she filed against her husband on the 20th of September, and in January, during the plea and trial, she withdrew the criminal case. On 7 March, according to police records, the victim complained to the Office of the Internal Investigation Subdivision in Marienthal that she was assaulted by her husband, however, did not want to lay any criminal charges against him. The victim was then called in by senior management, where her official statement was taken, which led to her late husband's private pistol being confiscated and booked at the Marienthal police station the following day. A week later, on the 14th of March, the victim again applied for a protection order against the suspect. The matter was then set for the 28th of April for the court to hear from both sides. However, the court date was then postponed to 12 May. These were the developments that led to the late Joanna Keramin-Biekes' tragic fate. After the break, we get into our community talk segment, and tonight, retired Kavango East Education Director Fanyo Cabarero says that leaders should be servants of their people. Stay tuned.
To another exciting episode of Oneuptwo.
Jou dit is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle mondveld gaan byt.
Getting into our community talk segment, retired Kavango East Education Director Fanyo Capapero says that leaders should be servants of their people. Capapero, who was reflecting on his time as a teacher up to the level of an education director, served people with humility and calls on those in positions to lead others to lead by example. Have a look.
I've served the region with humility. I've served the region with humility. Because it's very, very important to understand that humility is very important. You need, if you want to serve, you need to be a servant yourself. For the time that I've been a director, I have endeavored to serve with humility. The office has been open to all kinds of people, including Kahili. He is a legend. The regional office or the office of the director has been open to everyone. Sometimes if you visit the regional office, you'll think it's the consulting room of the doctor. All kinds of people, some of them will go there and cry. I have seen tears of people in that office. Sometimes, I said everybody, and sometimes at the end of the discussion, you need to open the windows for fresh air. That is how open the office was, and is going to be, because I believe the person coming in is a student of mine, and he will not go wrong. One thing that destroys organization, ladies and gentlemen, is pride. Pride has destroyed many organizations. And I want to tell you, especially the teachers that are here, and my colleagues, the principals, we cannot be proud and try to serve the people.
In our Story of the Day segment, Chief Economist at Capricorn Asset Management, Florence Burke, speaks at the fundamentals and functions of the economy.
Just a sort of overview and basics of the workings of the economy. And I tended to divide it into three groupings of areas. The first is the real economy, where you look at GDP and how firms perform, and then also what is the status of the consumer. The second great area is the one where we're looking at the financial side of things. There we look at things like the money supply, credit growth, we look at the balance of payments, the currency regime, and then also the exchange rate. So that's the financial component. And then lastly, we're looking at the arena of policy making, where we distinguish between macroeconomic policy, as it is contained in monetary policy and fiscal policy. And then we have what I just call other areas of policy, like for instance development initiatives. The Harambee plan will fall there, for instance. And then lastly, we look quickly at the asset markets. The asset markets, I basically mean the investments that we have, the savings, the money market, the capital market, the equity market. Equity market is really just shares, and the property market. These things play a big role in how people perceive their wealth situation developing. And do not forget that all of us that have, let's say just for instance, a pension fund that we save in, we are exposed to these asset markets in our personal capacity, so that we make provision for future consumption like retirement or whatever the case may be. So we covered these three areas in an overview type of approach, and then we looked at the importance of the overall covering this whole discussion is the importance of the basic philosophy of the nation or the society, where it is important to just acknowledge what is it that society agrees on. Much of that is actually implicit, so there's no explicit social contract, so to speak, but the belief systems and the philosophy and the schools of thought that is dominant in the society as a whole plays a very big role, which is largely unquantifiable, but nevertheless very present, because you get the trickle down from the overall philosophy into all of these areas that we discussed.
In economic news after the break, Diamond's export earnings increased. We'll take a look at what this means, but first a quick ad break.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Let's get into our economic news. Export earnings increased by 26.3% from 8.1 billion Namibian dollars recorded in February to 10.2 billion Namibian dollars in March. Diamonds were Namibia's largest export commodity, accounting for 32.4% of total exports, mostly destined for Botswana, the United Arab Emirates, and Belgium. Uranium and fish came second and third in the list, accounting for 14.4% and 12.5% of total exports, respectively. Uranium was only destined for France and China, while fish was mainly destined for Spain, Zambia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The import bill amounted to 12.4 billion Namibian dollars in March, compared to 8.5 billion Namibian dollars recorded in February. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators and thereafter returning with our weather. The Namibian dollar trades at $18.57 to the US dollar and $20.35 to the euro. It trades at $23.42 to the pound, and 2 Namibian dollars and 68 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Looking at commodities, zinc is up by 0.74%, while Brent crude oil is down by 1.36%, trading at $75.94 per barrel. After the break, we get into our international news, and tonight, dozens of police seize ex-Prime Minister outside court in Pakistan.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
as well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Let's get into our international news. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan has been arrested outside the High Court in the capital, Islamabad. Khan was appearing in court on charges of corruption, which he says are politically motivated. Footage showed dozens of paramilitary forces in armored vehicles detaining Khan after he entered the court compound and then driving him away. He was ousted as PM in April last year and has been campaigning for early elections since then. General elections are due to be held later this year. Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party has called on its supporters to protest. In the hours since he was detained, violence has been reported from a number of cities, including Lahore, Karachi and Peshawar. On the streets of Islamabad, hundreds of protesters blocked one of the main highways in and out of the capital. People pulled down street signs and parts of overpasses, lit fires and threw stones. During the hour or so that the BBC was there, no police or authorities were visible. Protesters said they were angry about Imran Khan's arrest. Writing on social media, police in Islamabad said 5 police officers had been injured and 43 protesters arrested. Footage from Lahore posted on Twitter appeared to show crowds breaking into the military corps commander's house, destroying furniture and belongings inside. Protesters in the main port city of Karachi have been blocking a main road, Reuters reported. It said at least 10 people, including 6 police officers, had been injured in southwestern Quetta city in clashes with Khan supporters. A statement from the Inspector General of Punjab Police said the arrest of Khan had been ordered because the accused of corruption and corrupt practices. The case involves allegations over the allotment of land in the so-called Al-Qadir Trust, which is owned by Khan and his wife, Dawn newspaper reported. Khan, who is being held at an undisclosed location, denies breaking any law. In a video message filmed as he traveled to Islamabad and released by the PTI before his arrest, Khan said he was ready for what lay ahead. "Come to me with warrants and my lawyers will be there," he said. "If you want to send me to jail, I am prepared for it." Now let's take a look at the weather predictions. Sunny and hot weather is expected in the north, with Inanna at 34 degrees and Ruakana at 33 degrees. Cloudy weather is expected along the coast, with a high of 23 degrees in Walvis Bay and 21 degrees in Henties Bay. After the break, we head over to the sports desk, proudly brought to you by Sports Wrap. Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to the sports section of Sunset News, courtesy of Sport Rep. I am Jesse Jackson Kauraitha. The Namibian Secondary Schools Rugby Association preliminary squad in preparation for the Under-16 and Under-18 provisional tournaments will have training camp in Windhoek from Thursday until Saturday this week. On Saturday, a final match will be played in both of the age groups, after which the squads of the 23 players each, as well as 9 traveling reserves, will be named. Meanwhile, Herman Kropler of Walvis Bay Private School will be the head coach of the campaign at the Under-18 Academy Week to be hosted in Johannesburg. A group of national women's football players yesterday assembled at the Namibia Football Association's office demanding payments owed to them from almost 3 years ago. The unpaid players claim to have repeatedly engaged with the Normalization Committee and the new Secretary General Jochen Trott about their outstanding payments, but they have not received any satisfactory response yet. 9 Namibian Paralympic
Now let's take a look at the highlights from today's broadcast in case you need a quick recap. Agriculture Minister Kaushlet Vine said that Meadco is currently technically insolvent, with its debts surpassing its assets. He made these remarks at the Ministerial Strategic and Annual Planning Workshop held in Swakopmund this week. The tragic death of Joanna Keramin-Beekes, allegedly at the hands of her police officer husband, has shed light on a marriage plagued by domestic violence and a trail of police reports. The late Keramin-Beekes was fatally shot in an apparent murder-suicide while she was attending choir practice at the AGS church in Mariental, according to the police. In sports, a group of national women's football players yesterday assembled at the Namibia Football Association's office, demanding payments owed to them from almost 3 years ago. And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you for watching Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.